Good afternoon, everyone. When they asked me actually to present, I told them I'll present either before lunch or after lunch. Before lunch, usually everyone is hungry, don't ask a lot of questions. After lunch, usually you're tired, don't ask any questions. So we'll see. I'll leave 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the end for questions, if there's any. Thank you for the introduction. I've been with Braun for 26 years, the first 4 years actually in Germany, and the last 22 years here in the US. Came for 2 years, expat assignment, and here I am 22 years later, still in the US. Love this country, love the culture, love the company. So today I'm not gonna present to you anything academical. I think we all read the same books. Actually, you probably know more than I do. What I would share with you today is really kind of a story. The story of Braun itself, but the story of the continuous improvement journey in Braun. And the story is not ended yet. It's a journey, it's not a destination. So I'll actually share with you some of the struggle we had, some of the opportunities, but also some of the lessons learned. So with this, I'll talk a little bit about Braun. I'll talk about the journey I just talked about. I call it F.A.C.E. We'll face it together. And then I'll end up with lesson learned. So who is Braun? I know some of you probably know Braun. I know that I talked to some of you worked actually with us in Braun. But for those of you who don't know Braun or the story of Braun is actually a good story. It's a 187 years company, started with a very ambitious pharmacist said, I'm gonna buy the Rosen Apotheke in Germany, and I'm gonna actually start back then what the first Amazon is, which is actually the mail order business in the heart of Germany. That's his vision, and his son, Bernd Braun, that's actually how the B Braun came from. The B stands for Bernd, that's his second generation of Braun. And he registered the company because a lot of people confused B Braun with Braun, the one with the shaver and the household. And then he started two departments. One is the pharmacy, the other one actually for pharmaceuticals and medical device. They had a lot of inventions. I'm not gonna go through all of this, but back then actually, I think the first they did the cannula when they started, actually they called it Braunüle actually, and then changed to cannula and so on and on. But Bernd Braun started the company to be really more a manufacturing company. And the fifth generation, L.G. Braun, Ludwig Georg Braun actually, who's the one who took the company from a local, relatively company to the worldwide company. Back then when L.G. Braun took the company was 200 million. You'll see now where we're at, but and he said, I cannot be global without the US. So he bought a small company called Braun, which is medical device only for OEM customers back then in 1979. And that was not enough because if you have medical device, you need to have the pharmaceutical as well. So in 1997, Braun bought McGo. McGo was a bigger company, and actually one of the plants is just 70 miles away from here, north in Irvine, California. And that became basically the core of the Braun Medical in the US. We exist in 64 countries, but we'll just focus in the US. We have the medical device, a lot of the injection molding and extrusion and molded part happen in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They actually extrude enough tubes that goes around the world 11 times. And they send a lot of this to Dominican Republic, who a friend of mine actually used to run the plant there. And they do the assembly and the sterilization, send it back to the US. That's the Allentown and the Dominican Republic. The pharma is I would say the legacy lines in Irvine, California, 1979. We have some of these lines running from 1979s, but then we bought a new facility in Daytona Beach, which investment roughly $500 million. A lot of this, I'm gonna get back to the investment because this is really where we needed to do something different from operational excellence and continuous improvement. So high level, Braun in a glance. I don't have the 25 numbers, but roughly I think we are at the 10 billion euro, which is roughly $11 billion. That's worldwide. It's the largest privately held medical device company in the world, but it's number 14 medical device company in the world. We, as I said, we are in 64 countries and have roughly 65,000 employees worldwide. Spend a lot in the investment. That's actually what's good with privately held. The money they make, they put it back on the company. They don't have to give to shareholder. And this is very important. 770 million they invested last year. I'm gonna get back to this because the last 10 years, the company invested 1.2 billion just in the US within 5 years. Because we had 500 million in Daytona Beach for pharma. We built a new facility in Allentown, added buildings in Dominican Republic, added lines, and so on in Irvine, California. So, and I think that's caused some of the issues later on, which I'm gonna talk about. You could see here, this is really a good story from a revenue perspective. And you see it took them almost 20 years, 18 years to get to the first billion. After this took them 9 years. Right now, 2 years to get to 1 billion actually. So it's fast growing company and it's all organic. I think the only time they bought subsidiary was the S-Club division. That was a big company. And of course, might go back in 1979. Okay. This is the story of Braun, and this story is still going on, but what is the story of continuous improvement, operational excellence? So like a good German company, they came with the OpEx program, and they say, we're gonna actually implement lean everywhere in the world, including the US. 2008, they came here and say, we're gonna train everyone, we're gonna have all of these toolbox, all of the Japanese word that you all know it, and we're gonna actually have lean in the US, which we created an organization. We have the TPS, BPS, which stands for Braun Production System, and TPM, lean organization. And then we added Six Sigma in 2013, 2014. 2015, 16, this is where I start having the honor and the privilege actually leading a very competent team of continuous improvement, operational excellence across the US. And we started with SQDC, safety, quality, delivery, cost. We had the concept, and we planned 5 years roadmap every 5 years from 2015. You will see that the next one was 20. And right now we're actually working on the next 5 years with focus on what else? AI and digital transformation. However, that would be a boring story if this is really the whole story. That's not the whole story. The big story that we had a crisis in 2016, 2017. I mentioned that we had the 1.2 billion investment. Now, the 1.2, everyone in pharmaceutical understand that when you spend a lot of money in pharma, you spend money in it, you don't have the volume. You have a line actually that can produce 50, 60 million units, but you don't get 50, 60 million units in the first year. So we had a 1.2 billion. The volume is not there. It's not enough. The FDA goes to the Irvine facility, and we had roughly 14 483s and a warning letter. So it hits everyone, and everyone start really saying, does OpEx work? Do we really have a culture of operation excellence? We spend all of this money, and now look at where we at right now. And you could hear it. There's kind of like skepticism about the whole program, and why is it not working? There's a lot of reasons why, but we had to respond as an operation excellence team. And the way we wanted to respond actually is, we say, okay, we're gonna face it. I'm gonna talk what it means, face it. So we started the F.A.C.E initiative in 2017, took off really in 2018. So if you go to the Irvine plant, when you enter actually in, the first thing you see, let's face it. And people don't understand what they mean, face it. So I'm gonna explain it to you. So the crisis was because I just explained, we had actually 6 to 8% increase in volume and revenue but our operating profit decreased every year. Why? Because you spend $1.2 billion, you have the depreciation, you have lines, you have startup, you have all of the overhead, the cost, you can't cover all of this cost. That was expected for 1 and 2 or 3 years, but not expected for 5, 7, 8, or 10 years. So basically, the question is how to achieve profitable growth. And this challenge was given to us as operational excellence team, as leadership team, and operation, and beyond. Our response to this was, okay, we'll face it, and we will use the F word. The F word here is obviously focus. And we say, we looked at the organization, and because if we have all of these projects, we have all of these issues, every single operation excellence person was actually having 10, 20, 30, 50, 70, 90 projects working on, but they're not doing anything. So we came back and say, let's really focus on what's important. What was important at this time was, again, because of our operating income decline, what important was cost saving. Let's basically focus on cost saving. The other thing is, let's just go back to basic. Do we have the engagement of the employee? Do they really understand what's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? Do they come every shift? Do they actually talk about what the issue happened in last shift and what we need to do in the next shift or the next day or the next week? So back then, we focused on shop floor management. We call it SQDC, plus, the plus could be P or T or whatever, safety, quality, delivery, cost. This is what we determined is important. So back then, this is the 2 things we actually focused on. Every year, we changed this focus. So the shop floor management was actually for 1 or 2 or 3 years. But, and as a matter of fact, we're meeting next week in Dominican Republic, actually, in Santo Domingo, to talk again about our shop floor management and what do we need to do in the use of AI and digital transformation and how we get the data and so on. So number 1, you need to focus. Don't do 20, 50 things, just do 2 things that are really important for the company and move to the other 2. Number 2 is alignment. So if I would go to Gary, who is a plant manager in Dominican, and say, this is what we'd like to do in Dominican Republic, he will say, who are you to tell me what we need to do? Unless what the OpEx team need to do is aligned to what the plant manager actually sees as important. So how we do this? We looked at our strategy back then, and actually Germany came when Hany Braun took over, and she put what's called next decade strategy, next 10 years, and she would define this actually in 3 years. And she came up with the global strategy. And we said, okay, in order for this to work, let's take the global strategy, link it to the US strategy, and then link it to operation strategy. So what is the strategy for operation? If you would like to increase your operating profit, how do you do this? What does it mean for each plant? What does it mean really for the medical device, for the pharma, for the active device, for the S-Club division? And we took this and actually created a Hoshin country, what becomes the tactical and the strategical actually alignment. The OpEx team had to focus on this stuff that actually is important for each plant manager, which is important for the CEO, which is important then for the CEO. That's how you get an alignment. So if you focused, you get an alignment. Now, the biggest issue that we're facing, and we will always face, is the culture. You can do whatever you want, and I think all of you heard this a couple times. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. We can do whatever we want. If the culture of the company does not allow you to do what you have as a strategy, it will never work. And in order to actually address this, we invited Hany Braun, 6th generation of the Braun family, and we explained to her that she has to actually, and I believe, and I think probably most of you also, that leadership is a culture. If the leadership's not actually practicing that same culture, you can't change the culture. So we started with the highest person, which is Hany Braun, the owner and the CEO of the company. And we invited her for one of our global Operation Excellence Summit, and she put this in place, and we sent it to everyone. So operation excellence is not basically a luxury. It's a must for us to survive going forward. It's a must because we have to continuously improve what we do if we're really going to get better year over year. Did this change the culture? Of course not. But it was the first step to say that the leadership is committed for operation excellence. Now we need to take it to the managing directors of the countries, need to take it for the C-suite, for the GMs, for the VPs, and make sure that they have the exact same culture. That's the only way you change the culture. You have to start from the top. And we're still actually in the process of changing the culture. And the last thing, so you're focused, you're aligned, you are in the process of changing the culture, but if you don't have results, they're gonna look at you and say, what does it mean? I have the CFO every year say, are you telling me you did all of this savings? Why don't see it in my P&L? Why don't see it in the bottom line? I need results. So at the end of the day, you can actually say what you want. You can do what you want. You have the strategy, you have the alignment. Even your culture is actually there. If you don't have the result, you have nothing. That's really, unfortunately, it's what this is. So at least for us in Braun. This is the 5 years where we started the F.A.C.E, and this is where we ending up actually. I think this is probably gonna be a little bit bigger. I don't have the final numbers yet, but so we're roughly gonna achieve 50 million last year in hard saving, an additional 37 million in soft saving, avoidance. And there's also, this does not include procurement, where they also had roughly 15 million. So all in all, we just did $100 million, but not all of this is impacting the result because of the cost, the soft saving. So the saving was there, the result was there, so you get actually even a skeptical CFO saying, okay, I'll take the 50 million. So you have to have the execution. But you can't just do this. We are in the business of continuous improvement, meaning actually we're not happy with what we do. The minute you think that you did it and you're good, and let's just sit on it, you will be behind. So started adding the evolve to the F.A.C.E actually. So the evolve is basically we need to have the two elements going forward. This is gonna impact our next 5 years strategy. Number one is digital transformation. So the AI, and I think everyone worked in continuous improvement, you will see that managing the data, we have enough data. I think I heard this one. We have a lot of data, but how can you manage the data and don't spend a lot of time in manual data without analytics and all of the systems, whether it's the quality system, the financial system, the operation system, all of the OEE, the MES, and you name it, how can you link all of this together to get actually data that you can react in a timely manner, not 1 month after you get this? So this is I don't have a lot of details behind it because actually we're looking at this right now and say, how can we do this? How can we really use the digital transformation to help us in our continuous improvement journey? The second thing, we kicked off last year what we call it high performance work team. So I think you all know that it's not just a 20, 30, 40 people working in operation excellence, they're gonna change the whole world. It has to be everyone. And I told them this one time, it's like operation excellence is not when you have the 40 people actually doing this. Operation excellence when you have the 9,000 people in this doing this as well, including the C-suite and our executives. So we started what we refer to it as a high performance work team. This is a cross-functional team from operation, OpEx, maintenance, engineering, quality, meeting every time, and they actually taking decisions for the business unit. We started last year 2 lines in each plant. We're expanding this year to 5 lines, addition to the 2, and we hope by end of next year, we're gonna have all of manufacturing working in this what's called high performance work team. They can work together. They are actually empowered to make decisions and skilled also to make the decisions using the data that they get from digital tools. So this is really where we're going for the next 5 years. I'm going to finish with 2 lessons learned. So big lesson learned for me is how you actually have an effective transformation, an effective change. Regardless, I'm talking about the OpEx, but I think that's true for any change you would like to have. So in order to have an effective transformation, you need 5 elements. You have to have a vision, you have to have a plan, you have to have the resources actually to execute this vision, and then the resources, you need to have the skill sets, and also you need to have incentives, what's in it for them. Why? Because if you don't have the vision, what you get is confusion. Why are we doing all of this? The first thing is like, why we have to do this? If you don't have the vision, you have to tell them why we need to go to the moon. That's like the vision. And then they can understand why we have to do all of this. If you're just doing shop floor management and not explaining what the vision is, you're going to have confusion because they don't understand why. The second thing, you have to have a clear plan how we get there. And if you don't have the plan, you're going to have a false start. That's natural. We learned this the hard way. And of course, resources. I think I have never worked in a company that says we have enough resources. Every time, like when you get with an initiative, you're like, okay, I need resources. If you don't have resources, I cannot do this. It's true. It's true. I think we have to use the right resources, and you have to have the resources for this. If management is not committed for any change, again, I'm talking beyond actually operational excellence. Take AI, take digital transformation. If you don't have the right resources, not going to happen. But these right resources, they have to have the right skills. Because if they don't have the right skills, they're going to get anxiety. I'm talking to my people, to be honest with you, say, you need to have AI. And people are like, what do you mean? I don't know. Like, don't worry, we're going to actually look to the expert. We're going to have the tools. We're going to look at all of this. You have to have the resources with the right skill set. And at the end of the day, all of this wouldn't work if you don't have incentives. Because if you don't have incentives, guess what? You're not going to have any change. You're going to have limited change. Because if I'm coming and saying, here's what you need to do, change, if the first question, you might not say it, but really the first question is, what's in it for me? Why would I have to do this? What issue do I have that this will fix, or what benefits I'll get? Again, if you're courageous, you might ask this question. Sometimes you don't ask it, but you thinking of it. And if there's nothing for you in it, guess what? You're going to leave, and you're not going to do anything. I did it. You did it. You have to admit. So you have to have incentives when you do any changes. So if you don't have this, you get limited change. For having a productive change, you have these 5 elements. And the second lesson learned for me is you have to give it time. So we all, in Thanksgiving, we had the turkey. The turkey takes 3 hours and 300 degrees. At least the turkey I did, like 3 hours, 300 degrees. What if someone would have the idea, I'm going to put it in 900 degrees in 1 hour? Not going to work. A lot of time, you just have to give it time because things just don't happen, especially in a complicated, complex structure like Braun. We have divisions, we have COE, Center of Excellence, then we have countries, and we have sites. All of this, each one has their own culture, pain point, objectives, and so on. So you have to give it time, especially when it comes to the culture. The culture would not change in a year or 2 or even 3. You will see some changes after 1 year, but it's not going to be where you want it. So it will take time, and you have to give it time. Again, I'm not talking only about the journey we had in Operation Excellence. I'm talking about generally speaking, actually. So we met, all of us together, actually, in Germany. And we said, okay, what is our vision on a guiding principle for going forward? This is the last slide I have. And our vision as a company and as a group is actually that everyone, every day, everywhere. That means as I said before, not the 40 people in Operation Excellence or 400. Everyone need to think continuous improvement every day. It's not the flavor of the day, and then you actually, once you have a crisis, you stop everything. I was going to ask this at the beginning, and I say, what do you think? When do you actually implement Operation Excellence? When you have a crisis, now you need cost saving, or when you're actually on top and you want to use this to stay on top? It doesn't matter, actually. I think we had them both, because when we started, we had a really, really good P&L. But in 2017-18, with the warning letter, with the depreciation, with all of this, we had a crisis. It doesn't matter what the reason why you have Operation Excellence. At the end of the day, you have to have the culture that back it up, and you have to have the customer as really the center of what you do. Because if the customer is not willing to pay for it, then don't even do it. Everything we do is actually due to meet our customer expectation, whether from a safety for our employee, quality, which is safety for our product, and delivery on time, and of course, the cost. We actually say SQDC for a reason. We don't start with anything. We say, if you focus on safety and quality and delivery, the C will come. If you really, really focus on the three, your cost would have to go down, because your delivery, meaning your E is improving, your safety, your employee are happy, your quality, you don't have a lot of scrap or reject, of course your cost will go down. This is my last slide, and I wanted to leave some time. I know we actually started a little bit late, but I wanted to leave some time for questions.
So I saw you were measuring productivity. What insights do you have about great ways to measure productivity and some obstacles that you faced with actually measuring the productivity?
So it depends on the type of product we measure. So if you have a highly automated, like in Allentown, we use obviously OEE for measuring. But in a plant like Dominican Republic, where you have 3,000 employees, how can you use productivity? We actually came to the conclusion that we look at this by the unit per hour. Because you can't look at unit, because you add 1,000 people, you get more unit. That's not productivity. But if you used to get 100 set per employee per hour, you can get 110 per employee per hour. That's a productivity. That's how we ended up actually differentiating between manual and automated sites. Thanks for the question.
Hany, thank you for the great presentation. Just a quick question. I think it's working. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Just, you spoke a little bit about incentives. Interested, were those, can you talk a little bit about the incentive design, and was it more individual or team-based or group-based? How did you structure those incentives to get the results that you were looking for? Incentives,
all of the above. We actually have what we call a Pride program. The Pride program is actually is performance reward program for all of our hourly employee, where we measure KPIs based on SQDC, and if they meet certain criteria every quarter, we pay them actually a 2% bonus. That's just incentive to everyone to say, if you actually do well in safety, quality, delivery, cost, we run the KPIs, every month we measure it. Guess what? It's a 2%. If you get 50%, you get only 1%. We pay out for the employee. That's one way that we do this. The other way is more the individual one. So you can't, this is for everyone. The individual one, actually, it's, I would say, for Operation Excellence, we have a training program where we recognize green belt, black belt, and everyone goes to training by recognizing them actually and giving them high pay. That's kind of like base to base. And then we have a monthly meeting where we actually have what we call sharing expertise. That's part, the CEO, all of the GMs, part of this meeting, and then you get people that worked in a project actually to present, and then they actually like to present to the C-suite. But to be honest with you, the best reward that I have ever seen, my friend there, he did it in DR. So where he had actually an annual meeting, I went there, I have videos, and we looked at how many Kaizen each business unit. They actually have a car racing like tracks for each business unit, and depends on where they at, what they do for Kaizen, improvement, whatever, and they were racing, and you will see the employee actually looking at this every day. They did, I think, Gary, maybe 800 Kaizen in 1 year or 600 1 year. It's amazing. And then they get everyone at one annual event where we have a lot of reward, but also we get actually the winner, the business unit winner, and then the best. It goes a long way for an hourly employee to be part of this team. It's great. So that's just an example. There's more than this. I just don't want to take the time.
Yes, I have a question for you with respect to, thank you very much. Normally my voice carries pretty well. I had a question for you with respect to, as you're starting down the operations transformation journey, there's a temptation as you go forward with the leadership team that as soon as they start to see some early quick wins, that they're going to want to press the gas pedal on introducing more lean elements and expanding across the four walls, et cetera. And that can create a whole level of organizational angst and a feeling of being overwhelmed. My question is, how do you keep the leadership team that's sponsoring this and backing it to really stay on point that this takes time and they have to let things evolve, as you say? Because I think the approach and the idea that this is a multi-year journey is absolutely accurate, but I see many, many firms that are continuing down this path of, we see some quick wins, let's move faster, and then things start to fall apart. Any pointers there?
Yeah, we had it. We did this a couple times, I have to admit. There's stuff that you control, stuff you can't control. You can't control who's the CEO or the COO. If the CEO or the CEO, CFO, they come and they have a different view, you'd have to do a lot of convincing to stay on track. But for the leadership team, GMs, VPs, managers, we actually look at from the hiring process, because you do this in the hiring process. Again, you change the culture by making sure the leadership team is convinced, but then you have to do this convincing at the manager. And we put actually lean as one of the requirement. When we hire a GM, actually we look at GMs with lean background, so make sure that they would fit also in the transformation. But that's how we do it. And supervisors and me are the most important one, to be honest with you, because they change a lot. And if they change, you get a supervisor, you lose the connection between the middle management and the floor. So we actually started last year a meeting called the supervisor meeting to actually ensure that they on track on what they do. And part of the onboarding for everyone, including supervisors, is actually lean, 4 hours of lean transformation. What's lean for Braun? Thank you. I think maybe the last question, I think I'm beyond my time. I can hear you.
Was your initiative all organic, or did you use external consultants to help you with both the material development and like the initial launch, or was it all?
The very initial launch, we used third parties. We did not know what we did not know. We had a lot of training. A company that trained everyone, spent millions in training. As we matured, as we build the capabilities as we go, the phase one was organic, actually, within the team, coming with the team. We use third party for green belt, black belt, and other stuff, but the initial was a lot of third party, and as we go, actually, less and less.
Second part, the resources in continuous improvement, do they report to you or to the site heads?
No, they actually report directly to the site heads and dotted line to me. So we usually say that the corporate is how to do it, like the standardization, the frame. What to do has to come from the general manager on on the site. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.